All right, this is my review for Nuremberg. Boy, this movie was good, and here's the thing. It was well made, I should say. It was a well made movie. And the thing about this film is, before I go to, I normally don't do this. I did it by accident. Like, I looked at my ticket right before I went into the film, and I saw the runtime. Normally, I try not to look at the runtime if I can. And it said 2 hours and I think 38 minutes. And I was like, right before I walked in, I was like, this is gonna be like 3 hours. I was like, oh my God. I was not ready for it. I was like, but the thing was, this movie is well made because I didn't feel the time. If I had to say how long this movie was, it felt like an hour and like maybe 40 minutes. But it's 2 hours and 30 minutes, 38 minutes. Like, it felt, the pacing was very good in this movie. And the performances were amazing. I didn't know that Rami Malek was the main character. Russell Crowe is the main character. Russell Crowe is the main character as well. But Rami Malek, I love him. And, or Rami Malek, I love him. And he's great. He brings to the film, like, he brings the charisma, he brings the wittiness, and he brings his smarts. And that's what his character needs to have in this film. He's a psychologist, I believe. And he's basically there to assess Russell Crowe and his decisions and the Nazis and try to figure out, like, maybe why they think they do. You know what I mean? And I think the level of detail with the way, like, this movie, there's no real action in it. It's all talking, but it has you, like, not on the edge of your seat, but it has you entertained throughout the whole film because they have to go through the logistics of, this is the first time they're ever bringing any war crimes to trial. And it's interesting because in the beginning of the movie, they even say, like, pretty much everyone's in agreement. They're like, all right, cool, line these Nazis up, take them out. But then there's some guy who's saying, you know, I believe he's in the Supreme Court or wherever he is, but he's basically saying, I agree with that as well. But I think that we should at least have a trial. I think that as human beings, we should give them a trial and then, hey, take them out then. And the thing is, obviously, a trial brings the question of, oh, what if they're not committed guilty? Or pretty much they're going to be committed guilty. But the point is to have it on a grandstand so people can understand, so that the world can know about these atrocities. They already know, but the world can know a little bit more. And then also they could take them out and have them taken down. But the interesting part lies where Nazis, Hitler's second in command, Russell Crowe, and a few other, they found still alive, he's basically claiming that he had over 1,200 camps set up, and he's saying, oh, these are supposed to be prison camps, and I didn't sign off on any type of extermination. So he's basically acting like he was oblivious to the idea, and he's second in command. So that's where it gets interesting, because he's basically saying, like, oh, I believe in this guy, but I didn't. But first of all, you have 1,200 camps, and then they bring up the number. I think they said about 6 million or 7 million. They're talking about 6 or 7 million people taken out in the gas chambers, and they're like, how do you not know that these 6 million people are gone? How do you not know that in these last few years this is happening? You know what I mean? So it was interesting. And then also, they had to try to prove that he knew certain things, or prove that he would do it again. You know what I mean? And the trial was very good. It takes a while to get to the trial, but the movie isn't really about the trial. It's about everything that they had to do to get to the trial. One thing I want to say, just to prepare people, the movie, at some point, the movie switches from, the movie still is like a regular movie, but at some point when they get to the trial, there's a part where it kind of goes into almost documentary style. And what I'm gonna say is, obviously, people going into the movie, they know, that they know what it's about, they know the subject matter, so they're prepared. This movie is rated PG-13, but I think it should have been rated R for that point. And here's the thing. I've seen things before in movies, and I don't knock them for showing what they showed with people in the camps and stuff. But the point is, when they got to that point in the film, and my theory was pretty packed too, but the point is, when they got to that point in the film, like, it went a little too long. Like, they said, oh, we want to prove this, we want to show everyone what happened in these camps. So then they had the film going, and then it kind of switched to documentary style. And then when it started, I was like, this looks so real. So I thought maybe, like, they shot some of it as well and mixed it with the footage. But then it was like real footage. Like, this is like real stuff from the prison camps. and and the internment camps. And I don't mind that they showed it in the film. I understand that. But after like 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, I think that's enough. This film went on for, I feel like it was close to 10 minutes. If I'm wrong, if it wasn't 10 minutes, it was at least 8 minutes. It was definitely more than 5 minutes. Because when it started, like, people were, because the thing is, what it does in the movie, it is effective. I will say it is effective. Because I want to make you think about this. And I understand. And it is effective. But every scene in the film is supposed to tell something. Maybe tell something different than the next scene. You know what I mean? So we were in this scene for about maybe 3 minutes. And then 5 minutes. And like I said, maybe 10 minutes. Maybe it was like legitimately 8 minutes. But it felt like 10. And when they're showing these body parts and they're showing these people malnourished and they're showing these people in the chambers. And this is real footage. Like I said, I don't knock them for doing it. But, and like I said, it was effective. It did have effect on me. But the point is, like, obviously I heard people crying in my theater and sniffling. And I get it. But the point is, after 3 to 5 minutes, it's not a documentary, this is a movie. So once you get to that point, after 3 to 5 minutes, and you already showed us all this, you know, this horrible atrocities, I don't think you need 10 minutes of it. It really felt like 10 minutes. And when you see it, I'm only giving a warning, because if you're going with someone, like, just be prepared for that. Some people, I know people are prepared for it already. But the thing is, it was to a level of, and I've watched documentaries, I've read textbooks, I've seen a lot of stuff already. But I think this was the longest period of time where I've seen, like, atrocities, like, in a documentary style. Like, because the way they do it, they want you to feel, they want you to, like, be in the trial. So when it switches to this part of the film and it's showing all these atrocities happening, it's like you don't see any characters anymore. It's like they drop the music and it's just, you just see all these bodies. It's like I said, it's documentary style. You're seeing, like, you know, it's rough. It's rough, you know. But like I said, I agree with them putting that in the film. It's just the amount that they put in it. I just felt like it was a lot. It was a lot. But like I said, if you're going in for subject matter, you got to be prepared. But I didn't expect them to be at that level. But like I said, it was effective. It didn't ruin the film for me. It just, at some point, I was just like, wow, like they're doing a lot. They're doing, like, a lot. But other than that, that's just a little warning for some people. Just be ready, you know, maybe bring some tissues or something. Just, you know, it is something, especially, I know people have seen, I'm sure anyone going to this movie, they know what happened in the internment camps and they're going to see it, you know what I mean? But I definitely see some stuff I didn't see in certain, you know, textbooks and stuff. Of course, I'm not going to put everything there, but I think, like I said, it was effective. I just think I was not expecting it to that level. But like I said, then it switched back to movie style, and then you see the characters again, and the story's continuing. And the movie it kept being great. And I don't want to spoil anything, but what I'll say is that Russell Crowe, the whole point, before they were gonna do the fire squad, but then they said, okay, we're gonna hang these guys. We're gonna make sure that they're guilty on a world stage, and then they're gonna hang them. The way they did everything, I think, was masterful. And there was parts of it where there was a little bit of levity in certain parts, which was good, of course, in a movie like this, dealing with this serious subject matter. But what I will say is, I'm trying to remember right now, but what I will say is the Rami Malek's character, he has a great scene with him and Russell Crowe, and they're going at it. And Russell Crowe said something, and my theater was like, they kind of jumped when he said this too. Some people were like, kind of like, when he said this, when Russell Crowe brought up this point to Rami Malek, some people in my theater were like, kind of like, you could hear like them kind of gasp, like, how could you say that? And then some people was kind of like, well, he kind of does have a point. And and what he says is, this is dealing with the fact that Rami Malek and the U.S. government and everyone, they're staying on this moral high ground that's so up high, and they're basically demonizing the Nazis, as they should be. But Russell Crowe brings up a point where he says, you're saying you're getting your knickers in a bun because we had people in these camps and we killed them, but what do you think happens in war? And Russell Crowe says, you guys killed thousands and thousands of Japanese with the push of a button. So when he says that, my theater, there's some people, like I said, some people in my theater was like, yeah, but, and then Rami Malek snaps back, and he says, and he says something like, it's totally different than torturing and having people, and he is right. It is totally different. But the thing about Russell Crowe, what he says, which is true, is that Americans are, there's no, you can't stand on a moral high ground and then nuke a whole freaking innocent people. You can't, you know what I mean? Like, you just can't, but I like that the film makes you think about that. And it actually went there, because when he says that, it makes you think. It's a provocative thought. It's just like, war is war, and when people are on war, things happen. But at the same time, if you're gonna drop a nuke on innocent people, I mean, during wartime, these are people in hospitals. These are people just walking around, and they just in Hiroshima, and they're just taken out. You know what I mean? So, and then you're gonna cry about us putting people in these camps, and that's basically what Russell Crowe was basically saying to Rami Malek. And like, no one wants to play the game of my war was worse than your war. That's like the worst thing you want to do. You don't want to be in the area of talking about, oh, what was worse, slavery, or what was this. You don't want to go back and forth saying that. Everyone suffers. No one suffering is worse. You shouldn't say anyone suffering is worse than everybody. No one should be suffering like that, especially genocide and stuff like that. Like Rwanda, all these different types of genocides. But the point is, I like that scene in the movie, because it's like, if they're gonna go that way, then the people who dropped the nuke, they need to be prosecuted. they need to be and they need to be hung. They need to, there's certain things that you just don't do. You know what I mean? So, the war ended, but the point is, not like that. You know what I mean? So I just like that the film makes you think about war and these different elements of war. People are dying every day. You know what I mean? There's times where, the president or different people, they have to put a bomb hit on a location, and they're like, oh, what's the potential pedestrian casualties? And it might be like, 60, and they're like, oh, good, at least it's under 100. You know what I mean? Like, obviously they don't want to do it, but they're in a time of war, and they're battling, and things happen. So obviously we're talking about millions of people, but the point I'm saying is, it doesn't matter if it's millions or billions, or 1,000 or 100,000, 600,000. You shouldn't just drop a nuke on people. You know what I mean? Especially people in just hospitals and just walking around and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It wasn't like just the people in the war. Like, people who weren't even, people who were just in the hospital just sitting down. Some kids just walking with their mom on the street just got nuked. It wasn't just like people who was just shooting at you. You know what I mean? So I like that he brings up that point. And Russell Crowe, like, he brings up that point. And it was a good point to bring up. And I like that Rami Malek was working on a book, and his book didn't sell because he kept, this is a tiny spoiler, but it's not too much with the film. His book didn't sell because he wasn't promoting America in the highest light, because he was trying to tell people, he's a psychiatrist. He went over everything with Russell Crowe and all the Nazis, and what the Americans wanted from him, they wanted him to say that Germans are different than Americans. And the thing is, there's a big difference between a Nazi and a German. They're not the same people. There's big, like, they're not the same. Just because it doesn't make you, like, just because you're German doesn't make you bad. What they wanted him to do in his book, when he was on tour, his book, they wanted him to say that they wanted him to basically say that the things that happen in the war camps and the internment camps could never happen in America. They wanted him to basically say that Germans have something in them that makes them different than Americans, and they're like more like hard-coded, and like that it could never happen in America. And then what Rami Malek was saying is, no, we have people just like that here. The only difference is we can't let things like this happen when people don't stand up. When they don't stand up, when enough people don't stand up for the right thing. And to think that it can't happen in America is BS. I mean, it has. There's been slavery. There's been so much different things, so much atrocities. We dropped a nuke on people. Like, this stuff that Americans have done. So basically what they wanted from Rami Malek, they wanted him to demonize the Germans so much and put America all the way up here. But he's basically saying, like, there's people who can do these things, who if you give them enough power, they'll roll over just to get more power. And he's saying that could be in America, that could be anywhere. And that's why his book didn't sell, because he didn't just put America at the top of the pedestal, which, yeah, I understand what he's saying. And like, anyone is capable of these atrocities, regardless of what country it's in. It's about the people who's standing around, and we have to stand up at some point. And it was the movie. It tackles issues in a great way, and it makes you think. And like I said, it was interesting seeing the trial. It was interesting seeing that trial, and I like that it makes you think about different things in wartime, and how people are affected. And like I said, the movie was long, but I didn't feel it. They told the story very well, and I learned a lot too. So I thought it was pretty good. And Russell Crowe, he did his thing. But Rami Malek, he's the anchor of this film. Without him, this film doesn't sing the way it does, and it soars with him. Like his performance was great. Like I said, he had to have a certain level of charisma. He had to be serious at certain points, and when he needed to explode, as far as his range, he did it, and I thought it was very good. So check it out if you like Nuremberg. And my name is Dejour. Dejour, know the name. Spread love and light, and take care.